What's up, people? I am back. Okay, there you go. I'm sorry about that. I am back for another video. Today we're gonna be reviewing Love Hurts. I saw both of them today. I'm actually happy because I originally planned on seeing this in the theater, but then something happened to where I had to stay home. But I saw it was on the seas because I did want to talk about it today. So I watched that and Hard Eyes, and this is gonna be the Love Hurts review. I will give my quick thoughts on Hard Eyes here in a second. Then I am gonna review it, do a full review for that tomorrow in the evening, and we can go into that. I'm not gonna say it. Love Hurts was very disappointing. This is actually, especially this part of the year, was my most one of my more anticipated films of the year, and I was really looking forward to this. I remember just seeing the trailer a couple months back, like a month or two back, and I was just like, oh, this looks fun. So I wanted to see it, and then I just saw this, and the movie, and then I watched SmackDown. I think it was SmackDown a couple weeks ago. It was either last week or the SmackDown before that, where they showed a behind the scenes in this movie, and it kind of got me much more anticipated to see it. And man, I was so disappointed. It starts off well. You get a cool action scene with Key, actually two, when he initially fights Raven in the office, and then you have the other fight scene, which you see in the trailers, with King and then his partner, where they're fighting him in the kitchen, which very well done fight. I was actually agreeing with a lot of people I was like, and I know Reddit's a shithole, but I did check some opinions on Reddit, and I saw one that actually I agree with, that some of the fights reminded me of old Jackie Chan back in the day, and I agree with that. And you could tell they were going for that charm, and I'm really disappointed at the movie. After that, so the plot really is a very small blues plot, but Marvin, who's Key's character, or Short Round, whatever you want to call him, he's a realtor who actually used to be an assassin, who worked with his brother, Knuckles, who, in my opinion, I feel like he was very underserved as a villain. There's a lot wrong with this movie, and it saddens me to say it, man, because I really wanted to like it. I really was hoping to like this movie, but it just wasn't good. The action was good, but the plot isn't there. And his girlfriend Rose, who's a victim that stole Knuckles' money that his brother basically ordered Marvin to kill her. He refused to let her go, and that's when he went into hiding and became a realtor. And basically all Knuckles does is you see him just be intimidating, or try to be intimidating, in the movie. But it's so, here's the problem. You could tell there was a lot cut, because the movie is only an hour and 23 minutes, but you could tell this movie maybe original. I wonder if the original cut was maybe closer to 2 hours or hour and a half maybe, because there's just a lot cut, or hour 40. There was some things cut. Sean Astin, who's his boss, they try to really make it like he's his brother, and that's why, spoiler alert, there's a scene later where he gets killed by Knuckles. But the problem is, Sean Astin's not in the movie enough. The only real big scene with him and Marvin is the scene where he gets told that he got the award. The only reason that's there though is just because it's Sean Astin and Key reuniting, Goonies reunion. That was cool to see, but it almost I wanted more of Sean Astin. I think he's a good actor just in general, even though he might politically be a weirdo. It's fine. It's Hollywood. But I I wanted more of him, and okay. I guess before I get more into that, I guess I can do a quick little mini review of Hard Eyes. Hard Eyes was actually really good. I had fun with this one. I saw a trailer because my friend Mara, who does the show, Talk Nerdy, they played the trailer, and I saw it, and I gotta say, it got me hooked, and that's what made me want to see it. And they both came out the same day. I was really hoping they both delivered, but one of them did. I will say, Hard Eyes was fun, fun killer, fun premise. You have a killer now that's marketable, that potentially. I mean, I don't know. I don't personally think it needs a sequel, but if they want to sequelize it, you now have a killer with a face and a mask, recognizable mask, good killer in costume. It's like Thanksgiving to me, where it was a nice nod to like 90s slasher. It's a love story turned on its head. I'm gonna go more into it tomorrow, but the Hard Eye Killer, that's what he's called, and that's why it's called Hard Eyes, who commits murders on Valentine's Day, starts picking off people, and told my friend this. This is what I really wanted the last couple Screams to be. Like, I think this and Thanksgiving are like, this is what we should have gotten with the last couple Scream movies. The right amount of gore, has a nice amount of meta, but it's not ridiculous, and you can definitely tell it's a no to that era of movies. So I'll go more into it tomorrow, but it was fun. It was a fun thrill ride. Fun. It's funny. I actually genuinely think it was a funny movie, and it had the right amount of humor and horror. Which, now going back to Love Hurts, this is the other problem with the movie. It is so tonally all over the place. Like, in the beginning, it does feel like it's like a Jackie Chan-esque comedy, right? But that has a nice mix of comedy and a bit of action. And then, like, we get to the middle of the film, especially when Rose is introduced, it gets all serious. It's trying to, like, almost take itself seriously. Sorry about that. And I don't think it's needed. I would have rather the movie just leaned into the goofy. Just know what it is and just have fun with it. Be like Jackie Chan First Strike or Rumble in the Bronx, where it is an action movie, but it has there's an element of comedy to it. I would have rather it just been that instead of just trying to just have it be serious. And I think this movie is very false advertising, because the movie, at least the trailers, they make it seem like it's just going to be about Key's character and him and Rose's love story. No, this movie is basically an ensemble movie, because there's multiple focuses. Like, you have Raven, who's a poet, that's the assassin that tries to kill Marvin in the beginning. He ends up falling for Marvin's assistant, Allison, I think is her name, who, she was alright, but they get a love story because she walks into his office when he's all passed out. He wakes up and she understands his poems, and his poems understand her, and they start having a thing. And the funny thing is, that would have probably been a more interesting movie. I really think that probably should have just been the movie. And it even cuts to one of Knuckles' goons, two of them. It's Marshawn Lynch's character, King, I think is his name, and I don't remember the other one. But I do recognize the actor. And they have good chemistry together, but it's like, this movie is so all over the place. Even though it's only like an hour and 20 minutes, it is still like very all over the place. Its pacing is bad. Like I said, the middle, it gets very serious, and then it tries to kind of, even in the ending final fight, they try to play it serious. I don't even feel like the action scenes are as like goofy. compared to like where they were in the beginning. Because that beginning choreography, that fight where he fought Raven King and the other guy, that was almost funny. Like they were doing jokes, but it wasn't like Marvel kind of jokes. But then it's like they try to play it straight, especially the scene when he saves Rose in the end. He comes in, he looks all badass, takes his glasses off. They're playing it serious. The action's much more him just fucking him up. There's no like they're not doing it for laughs or anything where they like it's so missed like all over. Another issue I had was I just think the actress who played Rose, I know apparently she won an Oscar or recently, but I just don't think she was miscast. I think you should have it should have just been someone around Key's age or maybe like around their late 30s to 40s. I think should have been someone older and someone with chemistry. They had no chemistry at all. I never bought them as like he loves her. Even though the scenes where they have him say it, I don't buy it. It comes off like you're just saying it because the script's telling you to say it. And especially when she says it back to him too, it's like I don't buy them as a couple. And in the movie ends with them kissing, and is like the most awkward kiss ever. It is, the villain's underwhelming because he's not really in the movie. Outside of there's a couple scenes of him freaking out at his assistant who ends up trying to fucking him over because him and Rose have a thing. Rose does reveal to Knuckles' enemies because she knows his financials that he's been skimming from them, which is the Russians. So she tells them that they come in at very almost Deus Ex Machina almost. Because, like, I'll just jump ahead to where Knuckles lost the fight with his brother, but he tries to, like, when his brother walks out, he tries to, like, hit him with a machete. He gets shot, and that's when you get the reveal, and then the Russians come. Very conveniently, too. It's just, it's very just like, okay, that's convenient. And I don't like throwing the term Deus Ex Machina. Sometimes, I'm going to be real with you, I don't hate all Deus Ex Machina moments. There's times where it's clearly that, but if it's still done well, where I don't need to point it out as an issue, I can ignore it. But here, it was so on the nose. It was so, like, you can't even ignore it. It's very that, but in a bad way. The way they kill off Sean Astin was kind of shitty. Like, they try to, like, oh, he killed him because, oh, he called you Marvin called him his brother. No, I'm his brother. That's what it was. And it's like, but that scene wasn't even earned because we didn't even get a lot of Sean Astin. We get him, like, 1 or 2 scenes before he gets killed. And then that's it. And the same thing with his brother, though. Like, I don't feel like his brother had enough intimidating scenes. And I think the problem is, too, it could have been the actor, too. I didn't really buy him. The fight scenes are great, but that's it. The story is not good. I personally don't know if I'd recommend it. The only thing I guess to say, it's only an hour and 23 minutes, so it's not a long fucking movie. So I guess if you want to waste like an hour and 20 minutes, you have an hour and 20 minutes to kill, I guess check it out. But I really honestly, I'd rather you just watch the fight scenes by themselves on YouTube or something. You don't need, I almost feel like you don't need to watch the movie. It's, when the action does pick up towards the end, like you have the fight with Raven showing up, where him and Marvin have to temporarily team up against the King and his partner when they come to the house because they're trying to kill him because they're told by the guy who's assistant who ends up trying to fuck over and steal money from Knuckles. Tells him to. So we get like that fight scene was cool, and then even Marvin and Raven's fight scene in the end, but it just didn't work for me. I was very disappointed. I wanted more. Like, even if like it was a paper thin plot, but it was still fun all around, I could have taken that, but it wasn't even that. The action, like there's almost like a 30 to 40 minute section where there's not action. And like I said, it takes itself too serious. Oh, I didn't even mention the amount of bad ADR. Because there's a million scenes where people will just be saying something because it's like narration, but they don't actually want to show them actually just talking. It's like, What are we doing? Why is there like a bunch of narration when it's unnecessary? It's like, I don't mind narration. One, if it was just like Marvin narrating, but no, they're all narrating. Rose narrates. There's a scene where I think not Raven, but the Marvin's assistant who ends up wanting to quit. She, I think, even has a narrating moment. It's like, why is there so much? Was it just y'all were just lazy and didn't want to get the actors to actually film a scene of them talking, so you just did the narrating unnecessarily? It was like, I couldn't even ignore it. It was like, my God, there's a lot of bad ADR in this. Yeah, I wanted better from this movie. It really left me, and also, and I know this is like more of a minor criticism, especially compared to the other, obviously bigger criticisms I have for this movie. Your movie is called Love Hurts, but you didn't actually play the song, not once. I'll admit the movie had a good soundtrack. Otherwise, though, it did have a good soundtrack, but just wanted to point out, like, your movie is called Love Hurts, and you didn't play the song Love Hurts. A little disappointed there. But overall, this movie is like a 3.5 out of 10, and I'm giving it an 1.5 because of the fight scenes. But everything else, tonally all over the place, bad filming. I think it's at times badly shot. I do like, I guess if I get one really good positive fight when he has in the kitchen, there's some moments where you get like a first person view, like like he's trying to protect his award, so he puts it in like like I think it's a microwave, but it ends up starting, so you see it like starting to spin, or he puts it in the fridge and you see like the inside from like almost like you're inside the fridge. That was cool. There's like a lot of cool, even when he gets stuffed in it, you see it first person. So there's a lot of cool, and like a lot of the action scenes, especially that in that specific kitchen fight, is so fluid. The way they would move into the next movement is sequence is very well done. But outside of that, a movie having cool fight scenes, but still not, the story not being there at all, badly paced. Um, the fact that I really feel like the movie should have been much more linear. You could have still had a little bit of an ensemble element, but I also think then you should have marketed it as an ensemble, because they didn't. I thought this was gonna be, like straight up just like about Key's character. You know, like I thought he was gonna be like the only character that kind of had the focus. I guess him and Rose, but I felt like um, it was hollow. And as much as I like Marshawn Lynch and I found his character fun, oh, there's also like a rival realtor that's like a martial arts guy he joins the fight in the end, but he's just there. He just joins just to get shot. It was like, why was that character there? Or if you're gonna have him be the rival realtor, he didn't need to actually be part of the action. You should have just had him appear once and then maybe towards the end, like, I was very, like, you could tell I'm just not happy with this movie. That I'm happy I decided to not, that I'm actually in a way happy how things turned out, and I didn't actually have to go to the theater and pay for it or anything. So, like I said, there's some good action. It's cool seeing Key, like I do like him as an actor, and it is cool seeing him get like a lead role, but I would have rather them just give him something to work with than what we got. Like, this was very disappointing, and that's gonna be really, I might just title it disappointing, this video. I mean, because it's really what I feel about this movie. It's just, I'm pretty disappointed. I'm not even angry. I mean, I'm angry in a way that I wanted this to be better, but I'm more just very disappointed. Like, this should have been just even like a dumb fun, like, kind of slapstick action film. If you want to just do like in the honor of like Jackie Chan, I would have lived with that. But that's not what we got. We got just an all over the place, didn't know what it wanted to be movie with too many subplots. I feel too. There was almost a bunch of subplots that were going on for like a movie that's an hour and 20 something minutes. You have a bunch of subplots. Why? Why? I think it's like an hour and 23 minutes. So an hour and 23 minutes of just a bunch of subplots. If your movie's that short, you don't need it. That's what makes me think there's a bunch of stuff that was cut. I wonder if there's maybe some more Sean Astin scenes that were cut that maybe make the whole "you're not his brother, I'm his brother," because you don't feel like they're brothers outside of him just saying we're brothers because the plot says we're brothers. It doesn't feel natural. Something tells me he was much more in the movie. Maybe like not a lot more, but like where enough to where you actually feel like, okay, now you can see their brotherhood. You don't see that in this outside of a couple of scenes together. Um, the Raven assistant subplot where he falls in love with her, I almost feel like that's a better movie that should have just been a movie on its own. I actually like the premise. An assassin who works for a bad guy ends up falling in love. And you know what the funny thing is? I was thinking in my mind, this movie was going to be similar to like a movie I actually praised a couple months ago, several months ago, Killer's Game. I thought this was going to be something like that, where it's an action movie, but it has much more of like a comedy feel to it. And it has a nice balance of action and comedy. That's what that movie was. Even Bullet Train, not Hunger Train. I was thinking, I don't know where that come from. Bullet Train, same thing. Like, it is an action movie, and there is some serious stuff in it, but it mostly is a comedy. They do it like a comedy. I thought that's what we're kind of gonna get here, but for some reason, this movie it starts off kind of like that, but then the middle and even towards the climax in the final act, they go all serious for some reason. It takes itself uber serious. There's even a scene where Key starts torturing like one of as Rose kidnaps one of Knuckles' people, and they like torture him. So there's a moment where Marvin snaps on him, and it's like, why is this so serious? This should have been much more. They should have leaned more into the camp. Not camp, but this should have been like even something like Killer's Game, where it had like a nice balance of action and comedy. Especially Terry Crews. He was a comedy in that movie. Even Drew McIntyre for the couple of scenes he's in. I don't know why they decided we're gonna try to have it take itself seriously. I think that was to the detriment of the movie, in my opinion. I think that really hurt the movie. I'll say it's not the worst thing ever, but I don't think I'm ever gonna watch this again. I might watch that kitchen fight again and maybe some of the fights from the movie on YouTube if I'm in the mood. But just the fight clips, I don't think I have. I don't know if I'm really gonna ever need to watch this whole thing. It's not long, but even then, I'll just watch Killer's Game again. I'll watch Bullet Train again. Other action movies that still infuse comedy, but that still have like great fight scenes and stuff. I'll watch old Jackie Chan movies, and it sucks that the first lead role he gets, this is what we get. This is what he gets, and I'm very sad for him for that. Short, you know, Indiana Jones, Goonies, and everything, everywhere I looked, all at once. He was great in that too, and then him getting this little resurgence, and then you put him, he gets a lead role in a movie, and then this is what you get. And I'll admit, you can tell he put a lot of work into the fights and stuff, and just in general, the fights there's work put in. But outside of that, man, the movie was disappointing. Even another movie that was, granted, it's not as like fight heavy like this, but Fall Guy. That had a nice mixture of action and comedy. I just felt like this was just, I don't know. It's like, I think this kind of like the movie I talked about a couple days ago, Haywire, in a way, where I think it was just built around the fight scenes. And inherently, there's nothing wrong with that if you can make it entertaining. But I even feel like this movie, there wasn't enough action to justify writing around the action. Because if there was much more action and it was still good, that where it was a balance, I can even give this like maybe a 5 to even a 6 out of 10. But there wasn't enough. And the Rose actress, the lack of chemistry, the moments when they tries to be serious, it just doesn't work. So yeah, I'll admit the scene where it was kind of creative when the Knuckles fight with Marvin. He uses because throughout the film he drinks a boba, and it turns out the straw he uses is metal, which theme that's gonna be a theme because there's a metal straw does come into play also in Hard Eyes, which I will mention tomorrow. But yeah, he uses a metal straw and he actually ends up using that's what he kills Sean Astin with, and he uses it later in the fight. So that part was cool. I like that was kind of creative to use a. Never thought of using a bulbous straw as a weapon, but yeah. But other than that, though, the movie just didn't. I'm happy I didn't spend money on it. I think that's also why I'm not as I'm not as angry right now. Because if I did spend money, I'd probably be yelling and shit. But not just money, the time to try to get to the theater. Granted, the theater's not far for me, but still, just the time, even just to get there, and then for this movie to be this lackluster, yeah, I'd be much more angry. But because I didn't spend money on it, I watched it from my house. Maybe that's why I'm still very disappointed, but I'm not as angry at it as if I were to spend money on it. That's why Argyle, partially, I was more angry because I spent money. Same thing with Imaginary last year. Whereas this is just, it's bad, but I didn't thankfully pay anything, so. But unless it's something egregiously bad to where it didn't even matter. Because, like, I didn't pay for Dark Fate, and that still pissed me off, so. That's not always true. But this one, I wanted more. And I don't know if maybe the original script and if this movie went through rewrites or they just took out a lot, and maybe if the longer cut, maybe that could fix the movie. But if that ever sees the light of day, but something tells me it won't. I don't think this will do well in the theater. I hate to say it, just partially because it's getting really bad word of mouth right now. And I think Hard Eyes just, I have a feeling that's going to do better just because it's a better film. It just is. It has much more fun. It's kind of the fun in that movie is kind of what I wanted in this. And it's weird. I don't know why it just, like, it almost starts off almost like, even in the action, the initial fight scene with Raven in the office, there were still comic moments in it, like the moments where, like, his assistant was coming to the door, so he had to, like, come to the door and then hold him, like, to the wall while he's, like, acting all normal, like, that stuff. But, like, the moment, like, the girlfriend comes in and they try to take it, they try to have they play it serious. I don't understand that decision at all. I think that really, I think that hurt the film. I think who knows? Maybe I would like the film a bit more if they leaned into the funny a bit more. Like if they didn't try to just play it straight serious. Like if they, like I said, if they did it like even like old Jackie Chan movies, and I can think I said in the start it does like start like that, but for some reason, while I enjoy the rest of the fights and stuff, granted, I think the fight at Marvin's house he's trying to sell, where the other guys get there, and he ends up teaming up with Raven. That fight, I do think there's a bit of comedy in it, but like after that, like especially when he goes to save Rose, it very much it goes all serious again, and I feel like it's disappointing. It's like if they let the fights just not like have them do the fights, but have it still be fun and do it like use the environment and do it like Jackie Chan style, kind of what they did in the initial fights. I think the movie would have been better, and I think if they leaned into the funny a bit more, it would have been better. But it decided to like try to take itself seriously hurts, and like I said, that's why I said it's tonally all over the place at times. But and once again, a movie having a good soundtrack for me doesn't make me want to watch the movie again because I could just listen to the soundtrack on YouTube. You know, especially these days, soundtracks are like up immediately, so I don't even have to watch the movie to hear the soundtrack again. So that's sad. One of the only positives outside of the fight scenes is like the music. I can just listen to the music on YouTube. I don't need to watch the whole thing again. So, yeah, this movie was lacking. It's sad. I feel bad for. Actually, I might change the title. I was gonna title it "Disappointing," but I might just title it. I feel bad for. I'll just say "Short Round" because I do. Or I'll say I feel bad for Key. I'm not gonna say his whole name, but yeah, I feel bad for him, and just because like his first lead role, and then this is what you fucking give him. You give him this shit. You give him nothing to work with, and it sucks. If this bombs, I fear they're not gonna want to give him any more lead roles. They'll just keep having him be like, he'll appear, but he won't be a lead character, and it sucks. I think if they had given him something to work with, this could have been like, he could have been like, maybe I know he's a bit older, but he could have been like the next Jackie Chan where he does those kind of movies. But no, we gotta just waste him. Disappointing. That's this sad. That's really all I can say. So tomorrow, I'm actually gonna review a good movie that came out this weekend, and I actually now want to go to see in the theater. Probably gonna try to see it on Valentine's Day. Hard Eyes. So that's a much better film. It knew what it was. I had fun with the killer. I actually think that opening kill is very great. The reveal was done well, and I'm not going to name the killers, but yet I'll say that for tomorrow. But I do like that the reveal. The problem I had with like the later Scream movies, even I think Thanksgiving still did this well too, is I felt like with the reveal in the last two Scream movies, especially in 5, I think the killers become retarded once they do the reveal, and they're like almost, they overly go goofy with it, and they're just treated like a joke. At least in this, they still are like, they make the same mistakes, obviously, like let's say like other Scream killers do, but it's not like goofy. And the leads, she does start off a bit abrasive, and I'll admit I didn't initially like her, but she does grow on you. And I thought she had really good chemistry with the guy she ends up falling in love with. And actually, the boss she works for, the southern lady, I think she works for like a fashion company, is funny as fuck. I love her character. She's hilarious. I like this movie. It's probably gonna be up there for what, especially for Valentine horror. This might be my favorite Valentine's horror. Mm, it might be on par, because I just thought about it. The My Bloody Valentine remake's really good, so this might be the second. I think this is probably up like the second best Valentine's horror. It's great. You have great kills. The killer is fun, and now you have another masked killer you can add to the like icon. And the fact that he uses like a crossbow, something different, you know. Like, I know Jason used a crossbow, but he only used it in one scene, and that was in the third movie. Whereas kind of the killer using it, and it makes sense because it's like Cupid shooting arrows. It makes sense, and I love how well they use the holiday. You know, like I love holiday themed horror, and you know it's nice to have another good Valentine's horror. Because I would say after, like, obviously Halloween's probably the best, because there's just in general best great Halloween themed horror outside of not just like the Halloween movies. Um, and then Christmas horror is a lot of it, but I also feel like Valentine is like the third in terms of holidays. Like there's a lot of great Valentine's horror. So, but overall, I'll get more into that tomorrow. But let's get into Love Hurts. And we just, before that, Shred to Pin Down podcast, we just did a stream today. That's been uploaded, so that's up. Monday, we'll be live for our Raw review, or Raw recap, whatever you want to call it. And then subscribe to our Spotify. Both links will be in the description. Let's get into Love Hurts. So we're introduced to Marvin. Actually, the movie initially starts, you see Rose basically defacing Marvin's realtor posters, mainly because it's like to draw him out. Goes to work and has a talk with his assistant who wants to quit. And I think she's an okay character. I almost feel like we should have had more of her. I think you do get a lot of her, but what I mean is character wise. Outside of the scene she has with the Raven, I don't feel like we get enough of her on her own. You know what I mean? That's what makes me. This movie definitely. I get you didn't want it to be long, but I think trimming it down to an hour and 20. Or granted, I didn't watch it in theaters, so the version I watched is more like an hour and 18 because they cut the credits. It it's too short. That's barely a movie at that point. Like I think you should have just. I don't think it would have hurt if this film was 2 hours. I don't think so. A fun action movie, like I think, if I remember, um, a Bullet Train's around 2 hours, and so was Fall Guy, or close to 2 hours. Like you could have made this like an hour and 45, even hour 50. I think like you needed an extra at least 30, 40 minutes. Like I think trimming it down to an hour and 20 just did not work. And the fact that it's like an hour and 20, like I said, it's badly paced. Like this part of the film I actually like. I actually was into the film at this point in the movie. You know, and then when he gets to work, he gets to his office, that's when he gets a letter and it says I'm back, which that's the I think that's a letter from Rose, and then gets into the office. We get a pretty cool fight scene with him and the Raven, who's trying to capture him for Knuckles. And yeah, the fight was fucking fun. I love how they use the environment. Like even this fight kind of gave me Jackie Chan vibes because Jackie Chan uses the environment a lot. And I even love the moment when he has like Raven pinned to the door because he has to try to because his assistant's knocking on the door, so he has to try to get it and make things seem okay. So to buy some time, then she walks away, and then yeah, he ends up knocking out um Raven. I love how he did. Like he hits the desk, and then he ends up falling, and then he ends up dropping a pillow, so he doesn't make noise, and he is then followed by King and his acquaintance, and yeah, they break into it. Well, before that, he gets an award for like for like a realtor award from Sean Astin. And I'll admit that scene when they do reunite since Goonies, that was a cool scene, but it's almost like it's so obvious that Sean Astin's only in this just so you can do the Goonies reunion, which not saying wasn't a feel good moment, but I also just I don't love when movies just do that because I feel like Sean Astin's a good actor. Use him. If you have him for a movie, use him. Or if you did use him, you cut it. Why'd you cut it? I don't know if this was like a studio issue where they like demanded the movie needed to be shorter. I don't know what it was. Um, and it's sad because I think Universal makes this movie, and it's frustrating because Universal, it's like they're hit and miss at times. This is like, did the studio demand the movie be shorter? I'm like, I don't understand. Like, it's not like this movie's like, I don't. Someone tells me the script wasn't like a 3 hour script. I bet it was like 2 hours, but I don't know, for some reason they felt like it needed to be cut. I don't know why. But yeah, the fight scene though with King and his acquaintance versus Marvin was fun. I love how well once again they use the environment when he's trying to protect the award. He like puts it accidentally in a microwave, and you actually start seeing it spin. You get like this first person shot from in the microwave when he puts it in the refrigerator, and then he gets stuffed in the refrigerator. And the way like the way they would like switch into the next sequence of the fight is very well, like it's so fluid, it's so smooth how it's done. So I love that stuff. The choreography is awesome, especially in this fight specifically. This is my favorite fight in the whole movie, and it's like probably my favorite part of the whole movie. And then even when he escapes, so like it had like a nice funny tone, and then it switches really once Rose is pretty much actually introduced to the plot. So she tases him, And then I think he wakes up in her bar, and she wants his help taking down Knuckles. Basically, he doesn't want he. So she's a woman who stole from his brother, who he was supposed to kill, but he ends up letting go, and that's when he goes into hiding. But she doesn't want to stay in hiding anymore, and that's all her character really is there for, is just to argue, oh, please come out of hiding. I can't do the hiding thing anymore. So they end up going back to his, I guess technically it's kind of his house he stays in for a bit. That it's like a house he's selling, but for now he's staying in. And then, like, you kind of throughout the movie, you're kind of cutting back and forth where his assistant goes into his boss's room, gives a call to his boss, because his boss not answering the phone because this is when he was knocked out. And Raven wakes up, because before Raven wakes up, she reads like one of his poems, because I think the reason he's named Raven because he's a poet. So, Edgar Allan Poe, that kind of thing. And they end up starting to fall for each other. And, like, that part of the film, too, I wanted more of. I almost feel like this should have been the movie. As much as I like Kean, it was nice seeing him get a lead role, maybe this should have just been the movie. Or you should have did a better job marketing it. This was gonna be an ensemble. Because they don't really... But the weird thing is, you can do an ensemble film and still have it be linear. Oceans. Frank Ocean is the lead of those movies, even though it is a fucking ensemble. So you can do an ensemble movie. Predator, in a way, is an ensemble. I kind of consider Predator an ensemble movie, but Dutch is still the main character. So I feel like you could have did it where Key's still the main character and he gets a lot of the narrative, but you could have still had this be an ensemble. I think they didn't do it well. I think also maybe King, because Marshawn Lynch, you made it like a big deal. Why did you have him be a villain? Because he didn't even end up getting killed. Like, there's a scene he gets scratched up by Raven later on, both him and his partner, but they don't die. So why not just have him Frank, maybe they know Marvin and they're like forced to work with them, but maybe Marvin tries to, because it was forced, and maybe the final fight maybe should have been like all of them teaming up to save Rose. I think that would have been much better too. See the different styles of fighting, and I think that probably would have made the last fight much more compelling. They shouldn't have stayed bad guys, especially if you're not going to kill them anyway. It was weird. It's like they're bad guys, but you're going to keep them alive, but you kill off Sean Astin. You even kill off the realtor guy, his rival, I think Jeff, who's a rival of the realtor. You just bring him in for the scene just to get shot. It's like, it all meant it was funny, kind of like how it happened, but it was still like, you just brought him in just to get shot, but you don't kill off the people who are actually bad guys. Like, it's weird to me. Like, it'd be one thing if they were reformed. Like, you could start off as a bad guy, but then like you have a redemption down the road, or even in that movie, where maybe you do make the change by the end. But I just don't. It felt weird. It was like, even the other guy whose whole thing is he wants to try to get back with his girlfriend. She ends up taking him back by the end of the movie. So it's like, why have him say bad guys? Like, the movie's just like, and then now back to Rose and Marvin. That's when the movie all of a sudden it takes a serious turn, because he's like trying to show his actual love. Like, it becomes like a serious romance almost. And like I said, I don't buy their romance, and I'm almost like, you know what? I kind of want to just get back to the, I think the premise of an assassin falling in love. I mean, I guess they did that with Killer's Game, but like even differently with this one, who works for like a criminal. Like, that actually would have been much more interesting as a movie, honestly. And like, that's what I mean when I say the movie's like very all over the place, and I feel like the rest of the movie is badly edited because of the weird constant narration scenes that there are. Like I said, there's a lot of just ADR, like where they just for some reason don't want people saying stuff in the moment. I don't know, like this was a style choice. I don't know what happened because it was edited well, especially in that fight in the initial fight in Marvin's kitchen in the beginning of the movie. But the rest of the movie, I mean, the fight editing is good, but like some weird editing choices, like I said, with the constant narrations, that was just dumb. I didn't need the million narrations. So I'll just jump ahead to the the initial fight at the house when Marvin's trying to sell the house, the family that wants to buy it, the weapon. Which I'll admit that part was funny, and I thought they played their role well, especially when the fight starts and they're like all like freaked out and stuff. I thought that they were funny there. But so you get a fight between the initially the Raven and Marvin, because Raven comes to try to threaten Marvin to come with him. So they're about to fight, and then that's when King and his people show up. King and his partner show up. They start shooting up the house, and yeah, that fight scene was well done, where they both team up and they're fighting each of the guys, and then yeah, Jeff he's the rival realtor, who just like I said, he just shows up because he just happens to be in the neighborhood at the time. He shows up, tries to help with the fight, but then yeah, he ends up getting shot, which I'll admit was funny, but it is also like I could have sacrificed that if you're just gonna have that there. Just but I will say this is what I do feel like the fight was still like this is the way they did this, the fight in this one was much better. It feels much more serious, and I like not serious, but what I meant to say, like they like added the comedy, but I wanted more of this. It's like for some reason it just the movie took itself too seriously. I don't know why it went that direction. Especially when I don't think it was needed. I think I would have rather just stayed a comedy, like more a comedy action than an action comedy, you know. But anyway, Rose goes off to meet with Knuckles' assistant who's supposed to pay her. Um, but when he gets to the she gets to the place, and yeah, that's when at that moment, Marvin decides he's gonna go save Rose. Rose gets there, but they're too late. Knuckles is already there. Knuckles has no presence in the film, and I don't know if it's a mix of the actor just isn't. I don't necessarily think he's a bad actor, but I also don't necessarily think it's fully his fault. I do think it's more because he just doesn't have enough scenes, and he's barely in the movie. He's only in a couple of scenes when he's a lot of times making phone calls. That's kind of what he's there for, and then just yells. And then obviously there's a scene where he kills his brother's friend or boss. Kill Sean Astin. But which I wanted more of Sean Astin, and you're just gonna kill him. That was weird. And Marvin makes it there. We get the fight where they both team up and take out Knuckles' guys. Marvin confronts Knuckles. And that fight was cool. And I'll admit that fight, I was okay with that fight being hard hitting. I would have been fine if the movie did much more comedy fight scenes and then we get an actual serious fight in the end. And actually, if you had Knuckles been more built up too throughout the movie, that's what makes me think, did he have more scenes too and then they just cut it? Because it does seem like it. Like, I really think there's much more to this movie and they just straight... And I don't know, normally they do cut movies in general, but they're still in a way where you still get a gist of the movie. I feel like they cut so much out where it's to the detriment of the movie. And that's why I feel like Knuckles just doesn't have any presence, because the script or the way they cut the movie, he doesn't have presence because he's barely in it outside of making phone calls. So he ends up using the try to use the straw that he ends up killing. He ended up killing his Sean Astin with, but Marvin ends up winning the fight. But Knuckles tries to kill him, and that's when Rose shoots him. And then this is where we get the reveal that she sent his financial information to the Russians, who's one of his partners, and it turns out he's been skimming from the top and skimming from the Russians. And they just conveniently appear. They not arrest him, obviously they're going to take him to kill him. And then Marvin kisses Rose, and it is one of the most awkward kisses I've ever seen in a movie. It's like, I don't buy it. It was so stiff. Throughout the movie, like I said, you don't buy that they love each other. And I don't necessarily think that actress is bad. I just think maybe it is the case too, she didn't have anything to work with, but I also do think she was miscast, because maybe if it was someone older and also was better written, I think it would have worked better. Because this was a case of we're a couple because the plot says we're a couple, and I don't love that stuff. Like when it's evident you're only doing things because the plot tells you to, but I'm not actually buying it. Because that's what I feel with this movie. I gotta buy the premise and buy your characters, and I gotta buy you as a couple, and not just you're put together because the plot says so. And this is the biggest point of, I needed Exhibit A of you're only together because plot this movie, or these two, Rose and Marvin. I don't buy them to go. They end up working together at the bar, and then the movie ends. This movie was disappointing. I wanted so much more from it, and I'm gonna say again, I feel bad for Short Round. I really do. I feel bad for Key. I really think he deserved better. Oh, actually, no. I know I changed my title a couple times in the video, but I'm gonna say Key deserved better. I think that's a better title, because that's what he does. He does deserve better. This is for his first lead role, and you give him this shit, and then you cut a lot of it down, and then your movie's super unfocused. There's even much more interesting plot in the movie that you could have given much more attention to, and you just didn't. I wanted more from it. I really wanted to like this movie. I really did. I was hoping this is gonna be one up there with Bullet Train, Killer's Game, that kind of movie where I'm like, you know what? This is a fun action comedy movie, and this just wasn't. The action was cool, but outside of that, and like I said, it's few and far between. There's a 30-40 minute section where there isn't action. And the funny thing is, if you're gonna cut a movie so short, then you gotta fill it with the action parts. Then don't have 30 to 40 minutes of no action when your movie's an hour and 23 minutes. That's a lot of part of the movie in a way. That's a bulk of the movie, after the initial action scene, where after that sequence in the house before Rose captures him and then wants him to help her, after that there's no action scene for a while until we get the confrontation between him and Raven part 2, and then when King and his partner arrive. Outside of that, that's after that's a 30, maybe I'm thinking 40, maybe I'm exaggerating 40, but at least 30 minutes at least. It's ridiculous. So yeah, this is a bad movie. I'm, like I said, not gonna ever watch it again all the way. I'll probably just watch the fight scenes on YouTube and then be done with it. But anyways, guys, Hard Eyes review tomorrow. I'm hoping that I'm actually really liking that. I really like that movie, so that's gonna be a fun review. at least something good this year that I've seen. This is definitely so far the best movie I've seen this year. Granted, it's only February, but definitely one of the better movies I've seen so far this year. And it's disappointing that I thought I thought a feeling I'd like both, but I was hoping that I would like this better, but unfortunately, no. Hard Eyes is way better than this movie. Hard Eyes almost gives me what I want. Granted, it's a horror, but it gave me kind of what I wanted for this movie in that movie. But anyways, guys, I'm get ready to wrap it here. Predator, like I said, Raw review Monday for Pin Down Podcast. Hard Eyes review tomorrow. And yeah. Anyways, guys, end it here. Alright, guys. Talk to y'all later.